Is it all change in Germany, Raoul? Is that what we're looking at here? German politics has been remarkably stable for a remarkably long time, and it's been the bedrock of European stability. Does that now start to come into question?
I'm not sure we're quite there yet. I mean, there is definitely greater fragmentation. There will be more parties, but you're still looking at the CDU and CSU and the SPD getting a big chunk of the vote, maybe not over 50%, but close to that. And if they wanted to go for the Grand Coalition again, they probably could, and they would have a fairly sizable majority. So I don't think we're yet at the stage where it's becoming destabilised, but I think the migration crisis is having a big effect. You know, 65% of Germans disapprove of the approach Merkel has taken. Her popularity rating has slumped, but I think there are no real alternatives yet.
Yeah, she's going to run, right?
Yeah.
Like if this local election doesn't go well, she's still going to run.
I think she's still going to run. I don't think there are any alternatives within her party, and even in the other parties, you know, while the CDU and CSU are struggling, so are the SPD. Sigmar Gabriel is basically having an even worse time than Angela Merkel. So the fact is, you know, she is the only person there really that can hold this all together, and I think she still has pretty good approval ratings in terms of European leaders as well.
Yeah, Marcel, the economy's stupid. Why is the economy, which normally is the kind of the bedrock of the kind of the run into these elections, not generating the kind of response that you would have done compared with the rest of Europe, compared with the world? Germany has relatively wages, decent wage growth, it has very low unemployment. The things look all right, and yet we still have significant question marks surrounding how the government is performing.
The big issue in Germany on the economy is more a social issue. It's an issue about inequality. People are worried about not the next 1 or 2 years, but the years ahead. They're asking what will happen to my job and to my wages with a big influx of refugees. They're worried about their pensions because Germany has a gigantic demographic problem. The German population, working population, will shrink massively over the next 10, 15 years. Inequality in wages and in income has been rising. Germany has the highest degree of wealth inequality in all of the euro area. So it's very much a social issue, an issue of social justice and distribution that is really dominating it, because, as you say, the labor market is doing well, employment is at a record high. It's really this insecurity about future prospects that's driving the debate.
Raoul, given that massive income disparity that exists, do you expect the AfD to continue to climb in terms of its poll rating, or do you think it's getting capped out about where we are now?
Well, I mean, it climbed pretty quickly, and now it's reached a sort of 15% in the polls. It seems to have levelled off a bit. So the question is whether it can take it to that next stage. I mean, it still has a bit of a difficult position. People still are wary of these kinds of more right-wing parties in Germany. So I don't know yet whether it can really have a breakthrough across the country, but it will pick up some strong performances in certain federal elections.
Do you think there's going to be a relationship, just staying here in London, do you think there's going to be a relationship between what happens in the French elections and how Marine Le Pen does, whether she has a strong showing in the first round, maybe a strong showing in the second round as well, and how that then relates into the AfD story as we work our way towards the back end of the year in the German election?
Well, I think it obviously will have an impact on the picture of where Europe is going. You know, whoever wins the French election, what the tone is, and that will impact what Europe as a whole can do about the migration crisis, what Germany can do, because whatever it does, it has to do it with France. So I think that may have a knock-on effect indirectly, but they are very different stories still, and I think obviously the Front National is far more advanced than AfD is, for example.
Marcel, let me come back to you. The Brexit story, people are questioning where Europe goes next. Angela Merkel has been at the helm of Europe for so long now. To what extent is she being affected by that, if at all?
Brexit certainly has not helped the German government. Britain is considered in Germany a very important partner, if not the most important partner in Europe on free trade, on completing the single market, on opening markets, on free trade more generally. So that certainly is not a positive development for the German economy. Germany exports 8% of all of its exports to the UK. That's 4% of GDP, so Germany will pay also an economic price for Brexit. So in many regards, an important partner will be missing for Germany. And politically, that certainly has not helped the established parties in the country.
Is it in any way changing? Germany feels like one of the few countries in Europe where there isn't a strong anti-EU sort of movement. The AfD is there, but it's not kind of, it's not in the same way. It's not communicating in the same way. Has it changed the political discourse, Marcel?
Yes, if there is a positive element of the Brexit decision is that Germany is slowly waking up and realizing, look, we have to do something about Europe. We cannot continue the way we have done so far. The German government needs to take a more proactive stance towards Europe. The European single market is not complete. The euro is not sustainable, so there are institutional problems in Europe that need to be tackled. And Germany has a prime responsibility for that. It has the biggest economy, has the most stable government, so it needs to act. And that's one element that's now getting in the discussion. However, one should emphasize Europe is not a winning topic in the elections. So the big parties are trying to shun that topic because the feeling is they cannot gain votes with European issues.
Raoul, last question to you. Local elections tend to be protest vote driven. There are surprises that as a result can come out of them. Do you think this is going to be one of those cases?
I think the thing to watch is obviously the AfD performance, but also the SPD performance. I mean, Sigmar Gabriel, the leader, is under a lot of pressure. If he doesn't perform in these elections, then they will look to replace him or find someone new for the general election next year. So I think that's really the place to look. But for the most part in Germany, the local elections have been fairly stable as well.
Let's wrap it up. Guys, thank you very much indeed. Always a pleasure to speak with both of you. Raoul Roperel joining us from Open Europe, DIW President Marcel Francia joining us out of Berlin.